All City Network here in the Winter Meetings in San Diego, California. Talking Chicago Cubs with Ryan Herrera, Patrick Lyons, Jesse Friedman. Ryan, Cubs are doing some things here at the Winter Meetings, especially after the Jamison Taillon signing. But of course, they lose Willson Contreras to the St. Louis Cardinals. I know you've talked about this already. Quick recap: Willson Contreras' tenure in Chicago produced a World Series ring. It's pretty good.
Yeah, as a rookie, starting Game 7 as a rookie, Game 7 of the World Series, and helping lead that team to a ring. He had a great career. We've talked about it, together in the past about how you don't find many catchers ever in the game that hit as well as Willson Contreras. Catchers are generally not known for that, or historically have not been known for that. So he was like a breath of fresh air as far as catchers who, he was always improving his defense, and you could see that the improvements, as incremental as they may have been, every season. But he was always making improvements, and he was always a good bat. He was always a good at bat. He was always good at the plate, and you could see it. 3-time All-Star. He won the Silver Slugger. He was just a change of pace from what catchers are supposed to be. But the Cubs, of course, just didn't see the I guess they saw that they needed something different behind the plate. They didn't need the bat that Contreras brought. It feels like they wanted something, someone better defensively. And Willson Contreras, as many as the improvements as he's made, just wasn't enough. So Willson Contreras signs 5 years. I want to say $87.5 million to the biggest rivals in the Chicago Cubs.
Is that
history.
the biggest nightmare outcome for the Chicago? I know it
Yes.
sounds like maybe they were okay with Contreras going in some ways, but to the St. Louis Cardinals, I mean, that's pretty bad, right?
It was the biggest nightmare outcome for where Willson Contreras could have gone, because the one thing is, when you're thinking about all these core guys the Cubs had that won the World Series, or even just, part of the winning years, the whole thing was, they're going to come back and they're going to be, welcomed with open arms, like thank yous, love yous, all that stuff. Have great tribute videos, fans cheering them every second that they're up to bat. Now he's going to the St. Louis Cardinals, and it's going to be very weird to see how mixed the reception might be, because although he is, a great figure in this golden era of Cubs baseball, he's now a St. Louis Cardinal. Can Cubs fans bring themselves to cheer for a St. Louis Cardinal? It'll be interesting to see.
I give him one standing ovation, his first one back, and then after that, let the booze begin.
Yes,
Give him one.
I can see that. I can see that being what happens. I can also see it being, they boo him the first time and they cheer him the second time he comes up. I don't know. It's going to be, again, I think May is when the Cardinals come to Wrigley Field. So It's going to be very interesting to see how he's received at Wrigley.
So Cubs have a Willson Contreras size hole behind the plate. As you mentioned, they may want to go more of the defensive route rather than the offensive route. So Christian Vasquez would get that job done defensively, but offensively and maybe all around in general, the Oakland Athletics are dangling their big catcher, their 27-year-old Sean Murphy. You need a catcher. Is that the fit? What are your thoughts on Vasquez or Sean Murphy in a deal?
So we do like Christian Vasquez, of course. He fits in what the Cubs are looking for. Defensive-minded catcher. Obviously, was with the Astros and did what he needed to do to help get them to a World Series. Now, would he bring the bat that Willson Contreras brought to the Cubs for his entire career there? Probably not. But he could probably be a serviceable guy with a bat while also playing good defense behind the plate. And at this point, that appears to be what the Cubs at least are just hoping for out of their catchers. Yan Gomes is one of those guys who controls the pitching staff well. Doesn't really give you a ton with the bat, but when he does, that's just kind of a boost into what he brings, with the value he provides.
He can run into one.
Yeah, exactly. I think he had against the Phillies a 2 or 3 run home run game in Philadelphia, right after the All-Star break, and we called it the Yan Gomes game. It may never have happened again. Christian Vasquez can be the same thing. Now we talked about Sean Murphy, and the one downside I would say is it has to come via trade for Sean Murphy. So you are giving something up that's not just money. Whereas Christian Vasquez or even Omar Narvaez are 2 catchers who are on the market who aren't going to break the bank. You're not going to break the bank to sign them.
Yeah.
But they're also only going to cost you money. Whereas I don't know what the Cubs would have to give up to get Sean Murphy, but it's not just going to be money.
And they, the Cubs in this last run, selling off, so many of their players, acquiring guys like Pete Crow Armstrong for Javier Baez. They're trying to build up their farm system for that next run. So it does make a lot more sense to go ahead and acquire players via free agency rather than trade. So you can either use them for trades down the line or use them at the big league level when they're ready. Kind of almost the opposite of the Diamondbacks, where they're a little bit rich right now as far as prospects go, maybe not financially.
Right.
So that's where it comes down to the package on maybe what makes sense. Sean Murphy, I think we would all agree, is probably the better overall option. But Christian Vasquez, he may be the one that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the Cubs, just from an outsider's perspective, have way more money to spend than they do like prospect capital or like major league caliber players that they would be willing to trade. I don't know if the Oakland A's are the type of team to trade a Sean Murphy for all like lower level prospects. They're probably going to want guys who are like at the big league level or close to the big league level. And given where the Cubs are right now, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to deal one of those guys right now. So it seems like Sean Murphy would just be kind of a hard thing for them to pull off.
It'll be hard, but if the Cubs do decide to go after Sean Murphy, I'm interested to see what it would take to get him. I don't know. We've talked previously about Sean Murphy connecting to the Diamondbacks. What have you heard as far as what may need to be given up to get Sean Murphy?
I mean,
out of Oakland?
It seems like the market is. I mean, there's a lot of teams interested. I think everyone kind of knows at this point the Oakland A's are probably going to trade Sean Murphy, and so it's just kind of like every team make your highest bid, and he'll go to the highest bidder. With the Diamondbacks, it sounds like potentially, this is a speculation, not necessarily any report that's out there, but maybe Alek Thomas would be the centerpiece of that sort of a trade. Alek Thomas, top 100 prospect as of a year or two ago. He came up, was an above average hitter for about 3 months. Was not a Cy Young finalist. That'd be hard for Alek Thomas to do. He was a Gold Glove finalist in center field. And I mean, he was a good player, right? And he comes with 6 years of team control. So, he still has to put some things together, but he's a significant asset, right? And I think that it would probably take him plus potentially even more from the D-backs at least to get a deal done.
Yeah, so you need probably a top 50 prospect at least just to start the conversation, one that is up on the higher level, so that doesn't necessarily fit the profile for the Cubs. You do only get him for 3 years of club control.
Right.
He goes into arbitration, so his price, of his contract will obviously start to go up and then very much become expensive. But you could offer him an extension beyond that, so you get a little bit of everything there, and you have him long term before you go out and make that next move. While you have the defensive catcher like Yan Gomes already there.
Yeah, and one of the things I already lost my train of thought. The Cardinals and the Astros. I actually remember seeing this. It was on Twitter. I don't remember who tweeted it out, but that things were kind of coming down to Astros, Cardinals, both going after Willson Contreras, and whoever didn't get him was going to be like the top suitor for Sean Murphy.
Yeah,
so
possible.
So you're still bidding against a team that was pretty in on the best catcher on the market, and who may still be looking at getting another really good catcher who's not a free agent, so not in the same situation as Willson Contreras, but still maybe higher value than the other catchers on the market that are free agents. You just have to trade for them. So if you're the Astros and you're just trying to repeat, you want to get another World Series in, you may be more inclined to do that than the Cubs, who realistically are not competing for a World Series next year. They're trying to build something. And, again, these catchers like Christian Vasquez and Omar Narvaez aren't your building blocks for the future.
Yeah.
If you're getting them to be more competitive next season, but you're not putting long-term financial flexibility at risk by signing them. And I think that is why those two would make a little more sense. Sean Murphy would be a really good pickup for the Cubs. It just may not fit into what they've shown us they're doing, the last couple seasons, this offseason, and moving forward.
Do the Cubs have any internal candidates? Do they have a catcher in AAA or something who could maybe fill that role?
There is Miguel Amaya, one of the former top prospects in the system, but he has kind of dealt with a lot of injuries. He was actually supposed to play in the Arizona Fall League, but he missed that due to injury. I believe it was a Lisfranc fracture in his foot. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong on that, but that's off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But he is a candidate for the Cubs. But he just missed a lot of time with injuries the last couple seasons. and it doesn't appear that he's ready. There was a report back in spring training, I believe it was Mark Gonzalez, that said that Willson Contreras had taken Miguel Amaya out to dinner, telling him that, you're kind of pretty much you're the heir apparent, like get ready to lead this team.
Interesting.
And right now, Miguel Amaya is not on the radar right now because he has to get healthy first and get at bats, at the AAA level and just prove that he's healthy and prove that he can be that catcher of the future. And again, goes to why maybe getting Christian Vasquez or an Omar Narvaez would make sense for a year, maybe two.
Well, Sean Murphy, the better option right now, it seems, than Christian Vasquez, but a lot harder to get that deal done. If it does go down, we, of course, will have it covered here. Ryan Herrera, Patrick Lyons, Jesse Friedman for All City Network here at the Winter Meetings for about 24 more hours. Here we go.